Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching me from. How's your day been? How are you doing? Welcome to today's edition of SOP Online Conversation. We've had amazing conversations this year, and the year is gradually coming to an end. This is actually November, and November is gradually coming to an end. So I believe we have had an amazing year, we've had amazing months, and we've had amazing conversations on this platform. So welcome today to today's conversation. We're going to have an amazing conversation, and it borders on fatherhood. I know was it in the month of June we did like a marathon on fatherhood, celebrating fathers. So we're going to be touching something that relates to fathers today as it relates to their sons. Most time people say that we focus more on the girl child, the girl child, the girl child, and we tend to forget the boys. But we are not forgetting the boys on School of Parenting. So today we're going to be looking at the role of fathers in raising men. So the role of fathers in raising men. How important is the father figure in raising boys and transforming them into men? So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. We cannot overemphasize the role fathers play in molding boys or molding their sons to becoming fathers tomorrow. In society today, we see a lot of decadence. We see a lot of men who are actually boys who were not properly raised, men who are not responsible, and we wonder, can it be traceable to a lack of a role model in their fathers? There is a role in a boy's life that the father can feel alone. Now, mothers, yes, we can do our job, we can do what we can do, but there are particular aspects of a boy's life that he needs a father figure, he needs his father. So even when literally a boy may not have a biological father, he needs a father figure in his life. So quickly, we'll just go into the conversation. I'll just read the profile of our guest for tonight. You can tell me where you're watching from. Drop your favorite emoji so that I can know you're watching me. And like we always do, if you have comments, you have questions, you can also put them in the comment section. So quickly, is a licensed human resource management practitioner and an associate pastor at Beulah International Christian Center, Warri, Delta State, Nigeria, for close to 2 decades. And as the head finance and administration, is saddled with the role of providing strategic oversight in church administration, systems and structure management, and financial advisory. He holds a PhD from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, with specialization in rural development. A man of many parts, is also a consummate human resource management professional and a member of the Chartered Institute of Professional Management of Nigeria Council Committee on Professional Development and Learning. His core interests are in training and development, performance management, organizational design, corporate strategy, leadership, and global business development. In the last 30 years, he has actually provided cutting-edge advisory services in leadership, strategic planning, corporate governance, career development, performance management, systems and structure development, among others, to organizations and high-profile individuals. He's a distinguished fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered, NIM, and full member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, NITAD. He loves providing mentorship and coaching services to young people and have under his tutelage over 20 young and middle-level career professionals. He believes in the concept of apostleship in the marketplace, and central to his corporate engagement is the pursuit of God's purpose. Currently, he provides technical advisory in the Office of the Chief Economic Advisor to the Delta State Government, Nigeria. He is married to Deaconess Joan Ighoro, and they are blessed with 2 boys. Join me today as I welcome to our online. Can I be sure? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Before I welcome our guests, can you hear me, please? If you can hear me, can I see it on the comment section that you can actually hear me, please? Can you hear me, please? I want to be sure you can hear me before I go on. Can you hear me? Okay, so I'll go on to introduce our guests, bring our guests to the platform right now, to the live stream. Now, join me together as I bring to the stream Pastor Alex Ighoro. Please, you know the way we do it on the stream? We used to drum it to on the stream. So, drum it for Pastor Alex Ighoro. You're welcome, sir.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
very
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you,
It's so good to have you here, sir. Welcome,
thank you,
sir.
thank you, thank you. It's
Thank
my
you.
honor.
Yes, yes, yes. We've had amazing conversations this year, and this is going to be the second to last for this year. And I'm excited because I remember the first school of parenting workshop we ever had. You were one of our guests.
Yeah.
Yes, the very first workshop we had. You were one of our guests on that workshop. So I'm excited that you're here today on this platform to share with us from your wealth of knowledge. So welcome, sir. Thank you. Peace, God knowledge. I can see you. You're welcome,
Thank you so
sir.
much. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So quickly, we're going to delve into the conversation of the role of fathers in raising men. I'm sure some people will be wondering that is it not supposed to be raising sons? Why are we using raising men? But the truth is that the sons will become men tomorrow. So the end point is for them to become men, and not just ordinary men, but responsible men. So I'm going to ask you, sir, how has it been in your journey of being a father to two amazing boys? So you're already in the business of raising men. How has it been?
All right. Thank you very much. First, let me appreciate you for the opportunity to be on this program and also for the initiative to, talk about the role of fathers in raising men. More often than not, there's a concentration on the women. That's why in churches today, when it's Mother's Day, they hype it so much. When it comes to Father's Day, just little publicity here and there. But I'm happy that you are drawing interest in raising men, because if there is no balance in raising the girl child and the male folk, I tell you that it will be a time bomb for any family. So for you to come up with initiative of having a discussion around raising men, I want to thank you so much. Coming to your question, the journey has been very exciting. Exciting in the sense that the peculiarities are different. When you the female behave is totally different from the way the male behaves. For example, a daughter, after maybe taking her out, will come and tell you, "Daddy, thank you." But the guy may not do that. So you discover that if you are not deliberate, if you are not intentional about trying to mold some character, take note of the word. If you are not intentional and deliberate, you may be raising a time bomb for tomorrow. So it's been a very good journey. It's been a very smooth one, quite interesting. Every other day we are learning, especially in these days of social media. A lot of things comes up, and as parents, we need to keep our ears to the ground and ensure that we upscale our game by the day. But in summary, it's been an exciting one.
That's nice. Oh, I like that you said that if it's a girl, they will come and tell you thank you. But boys, it's actually a different ball game. Raising a girl child and a boy child, it's actually
Very correct.
different. Yes, it's actually different, and I celebrate fathers out there. It's not an easy task. Even I know mothers, it's not an easy task, but it's a lot. Like you said, most times we tend to celebrate the women and the mothers, and we forget the fathers. But the fathers play a very critical role in the upbringing of their children, the boys and the girls, likewise, all together. So it's very important we focus on the boys also. So, sir, what will you say is your definition of fatherhood? What will you say is your definition of fatherhood? Can you hear me, sir?
I didn't get you quite clear.
Okay, I said, what will you say is your definition of fatherhood? Will you define fatherhood?
Okay. Okay. First and foremost, I like us to know that fatherhood is beyond just paying the bills. I agree that bills is important. It's good as a father, you take that responsibility. But we need to take home that fatherhood is beyond paying the bills. For me, first is about responsibility, and secondly is about positive influence. I'm very deliberate about those choice of words. Fatherhood is about responsibility, and secondly is about positive influence. If you miss it on these two parts, I tell you that you will just be on a rat race. So I think I like to edge it at that point for now.
Wow. Fatherhood is first about responsibility, second, positive influence. And I heard somebody say something, I'm going to paraphrase it in my own word, that the fact that you give birth to a child or you're the biological father doesn't mean, in quotes, that you're actually the father of that child. The person that actually has the greatest influence over that child actually plays the father figure. So most times when we give birth to children, we feel that automatically, because biologically we are the ones that brought the children into the world, like biological parents. But the truth is that people that have a major influence over the lives of the children, people that mold those children, people that inculcate in them the vital values and essential tools for their survival, actually are their parents. And I think it goes for fathers. So I like what you said, that it's beyond paying bills, because I think in this dispensation, people feel that because I pay your fees, I clothe you, I feed you, then in quotes, I have taken the role of a father. But fatherhood goes beyond paying the bills. It's about, like you said, responsibility and positive influence, being a mentor and being a role model to your child. That is what
Correct.
actually is being a father figure. So it goes beyond the title of I gave birth to you or I pay your bills. There are other more important things when it comes to fatherhood. Now, what does it mean for you? What does it mean to be a good father and a role model to your son? What does it actually mean to be a good father and a role model to your son?
Okay. Just to also add to the comment you've made, it's unfortunate that most fathers today are not really fathers to their children. But instead, there is somebody on the tube, there's somebody on the television, there's somebody in the entertainment world, there's somebody outside there who's actually a father. That's why I use the word positive influence. If you cannot influence your child positively, then you're not a father. If you remember in my opening remark, I talked about intentionality. So
Yes.
we need to get that clear. It's very, very key. What does it mean to be a role model? I must be very frank with you. The truth of the matter is that you cannot influence children by just talking. If you want to be a role model, you must show practical example. That's just it. People, they learn more virtually than what you say. Let me tell you some of the things I do. For example, there are a lot of things I try to model in my children, as they grow up. One of them is kindness. Sometimes when we are driving along the road and maybe on the street and somebody wants to pass, most time I will stop so that the person will pass. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to model kindness. I'm trying to model the fact that every human being should be dignified. That you are driving on a car does not mean that you should cross the other person down. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that, to me, role modeling is more of an example than what you talk. Yes, you can combine that, but I tell you that if you are able to be deliberate about showing the right example, you would have been able to be a good role model to your children.
Role modeling goes beyond what we say. Very important. And most times I used to say, whenever I have the opportunity, that as parents, okay, let's streamline it to fathers. That is more of do as I do than do as I say. Because most times as parents, we want to tell our children what to do, and we actually do not want to go through that path ourselves and do exactly what we tell them to do. So it looks like we have a double standard. We have double standards in our home. So a father may tell his son, you are not expected to watch the TV once it's after 9 p.m. Okay, let me not use the TV. You are not expected to use your phone during dinner. When we're having family dinner, there are no gadgets. You're not allowed to bring your gadgets. And the same father goes ahead during family dinner and brings his gadgets. So it should be more of do as I do than do as I say. So I believe that as fathers, but even as parents, that we shouldn't have double standards in our home. Whatever rule we are expecting our children to follow, we should be binding on us ourselves. Like you said, to be a role model, you have to show practicality. It has to be an example. Modeling goes beyond saying words. You have to do it so the person can see and learn by observation. They pick things. Most times, Pastor Alex, most times some parents complain that I don't even know where this my child picked this thing from. I don't know why my child is behaving like this. But if we're really sincere to ourselves, we will find out that most of the things that they do, they pick from us.
Yeah.
Now, my daughter, that sometimes I look at her like, where did she even learn this one from? Later, I'll see them like, it's from you. She picked it from. So we tend to think that sometimes our children do not see what we do, but they actually see what we do and they copy what they see. It's something about there's this theory called the social learning theory. Children learn by imitation and observation. So they actually pick what they see. So, like you said, to be a good father and a good role model has to do with practicality. You have to practicalize it. You have to showcase it. You have to live the life that you want your son to live. So you cannot just be a father that is careless with his words and you expect to raise a son that knows how to coordinate his tongue. The child will pick it from you. And I've heard people say that it will be worse in the second generation. So they may do worse than you are doing. And you are complaining. So as fathers, like you say, to be a good role model, we have to practicalize it. We have to do more than we say. And our children will copy it. So basically, for those of us watching, I hope we're getting something. If you have
Can I,
questions,
can I,
please remember to drop the comment.
can I just say something?
Yes, you can, sir. You can go out. Go ahead, sir.
Can I just,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, if you look at children who bully in school, this is practical. I have seen it. If you see children who bully in school, check out their parents' lifestyle. Let me tell you the truth. This conversation is a very serious one. Any father who is not intentional, I keep using that word, you are just setting a time bomb for the future. 90% of the traits your son is going to display outside, if you sit down critically, they are traits from you. Take, for example, during morning devotions, during your devotions, you fiddle with your phone. Over time, even when you tell those children, don't play with your phone, because that is doing it, they'll start doing it. So you need to be very conscious of some of these things. What I'm trying to say in essence is that 90% of the traits that your children are going to display, if you look very critically, they were copied from the home. So parents, we need to be very, very serious about, giving attention to our male children. It's key, it's critical. If not, you just be paying the bills and somebody else is influencing them outside.
Very true. Very true. The family is the first school of every child, and it's also a continuous schooling ground of our children. So we must really be careful what we do in our homes because our children will replicate it outside. So most times there are certain things you tend to want to hide that your children picks up and they showcase it to the world. And it's like it boils down to your family, like, okay, then it traces like, oh, this is what you do in your home. So it's very important what you said. Any father who is not intentional in raising his child is setting a time bomb for the future. So intentionality is key. One thing we say always in school of parenting is that you must be intentional. You must be deliberate in your parenting. You don't parent by default. You don't parent by wishing that I'm going to have a glorious, a beautiful child. I'm not going to have an amazing child. Those are just mere words. Parenting involves a lot of intentionality and being deliberate in taking the right steps. And it's hard work. But it's hard work that we have the capacity to be able to fulfill. Because definitely, if God has given you a child, He gives you the ability to be able to raise that child alongside. So, basically, now, Pastor Alex, do you think that the way a father raises a boy and he becomes a father, that path has a major influence in the way that boy or man will raise his own children? Now, like a boomerang effect? Is it that what we see in this generation today, majority of what we see, is it that it's basically, can we trace it to the way fathers raise their sons? And what we will see in the next generation, we will be able to trace it to the way fathers are raising their sons today. Because if it can be linked, then we really need to pay close attention to how we raise boys. So, does the way a father raises a child influences the parenting style of that child?
Okay, I want to share a practical example with you. While we're growing up, this is very sincere. You know, it was later I learned that once in a while, my father and my mother, they used to have quarrels and arguments. But do you know, Kitty, I didn't see my father raising his voice on my mother. Excuse me. I didn't see him one day bullying my mother. So I grew up with that consciousness. I grew up with that consciousness that you need to treat a woman like a king, because I saw my father. We stayed together in a two-bedroom flat, you know, over 7 children. So the conversations were very close. So I saw the way my father treated my mom. And when I got married, it was in my subconscious that I need to treat this woman as a king. The summary of it is that it has a ripple effect. I'm telling you the truth. The way the father treats the wife or other persons will affect how that child will grow up. Let me share some practical things. Based on that, there's something I normally do. Sometimes I just want to give my wife some surprises. I give it to the children. Go and give to mommy. Or maybe I want to send something to my parents. We go together and they hand over it to my parents. What am I trying to do? I am trying to inculcate something in them, because while I was growing up, I learned something from my father. And I need to be deliberate about these children, because whether you like it or not, as they grow up, this thing will be in that subconscious. So the summary of it is that the truth of it is that as they grow up, the things you do will definitely impact on the way they live their life.
Well, very true. What you have said is very, very, very true. Um, Children, like we've been saying, they will pick up what they see. But I think sometimes there is this intervention that certain sons steal certain things from their fathers, and as they grow older and with information, knowledge, they tend to deviate from that path, especially if it's not the right path, and they tend to have better families. And I think that's what's happening to most of the young people in this generation, those that are eager to learn. And that is why I think we always advocate that parents should seek after knowledge, because the excuse me, the generation we're in is different from where we're coming from. Parenting is evolving. The children we used to have, the way we were in our time, is different from the way our children are today. Because sometimes you look at the children like, no time, we cannot try this. Oh. But a lot of things, a lot of awareness, the social media, a lot of things in the air, AI, and the rest. So there's a lot of exposure. So it's very critical that we seek after knowledge and know the best way to raise our children. And that also includes seeking after God's heart too, to know how best to raise our children. So as fathers, it is critical that you watch the way you parent your sons and even your daughters, but we're focusing on sons today. You raise your sons, because it may become the standard and what they see as the norm for them to raise their own children tomorrow. So we must be careful what we do, the standards we set, the path we take them through, because they will go back. I want to do the same because they think is the norm. And I think that's why most times you have fathers today that will say, this is the way my father raised me, oh, so you have to follow. And sometimes it's not even the right way. But they just feel that since my father used this path, I will follow this one. And it may not be yielding the results that is actually needed. And so I think, like you said, it's either a positive or a negative. But everybody has a choice to seek out knowledge and walk in the right path. So there is a term actually called masculinity. Now, what defines masculinity for you? Because most people feel, and how do you want your son to understand it? In this day and time, people see masculinity as A man that has a lot of six packs, tall, has muscle, steps into a place, and heads roll, heads turn. What is your definition of masculinity, and how do you want your son, or how should fathers define masculinity to their sons, and how should sons see masculinity?
Well, first and foremost, I try to practicalize something at home and make them understand that yes, scripturally, the man is the head of the home. But I try to draw their attention from that, perspective of headship to the perspective of responsibility. Because to be frank with you, there is a cold war going on. The cold war in the sense that, our children are learning masculinity to means, like you rightly said, six pack, all sort of things that look so artificial. But for me, masculinity begins with responsibility. And who is a responsible man? A man who knows what to do and is doing those things without being told. I try to make them, for example, we have a younger girl in our house. And I used to tell my two boys, I said, listen to me. One of your role is to protect this girl. Yeah, she's just about 6 years old, and sometimes she does some things and they want to give her enough. And I'll call them and say, no. I said, one of your role is not to lord over her, is to protect her. So beyond the fact that I try to practicalize it by showing Divine, her name is Divine, from love, I call them once in a while. I said, Better Noel. I said, this girl is a younger one. Don't say because you are a man, so you must command her up and down. No, your role is to protect her. So masculinity for me, it's beyond those facades. It's about responsibility. It's about showing that you care. It's about taking the role of a mentor to younger ones. It's not bullying. It's not trying to oppress someone, but looking at yourself as somebody who they can trust on and handle responsibility to.
Wow, wow. Masculinity is about responsibility, and it's so critical. I like what you said about teaching your sons to be respectful, to respect women, because I think most people do not think that is something that is very critical to teach their children, that part of being a man, or part of masculinity, is to be able to respect the female gender, to be able to
Sorry,
respect
sorry.
people.
If I may come in, if I may butt in, Kitty. Sorry that I'm
Yes.
butting in. There's a line of thought that was coming to my mind, and it's important we address it.
Okay.
It's a cultural default. For example, you see somebody who is an older woman, and they'll tell you that because he's a woman, so when he comes, he serves the younger men. For me, in my home, I have spoken against it. If there is a lady, if there is a young girl who is older than you, the young guys must respect that. That's the way I see it. They must not learn masculinity the way the world or our culture has defined it, where you suppress women. I agree here. Bible says wives submit and whatsoever and all that. But my definition of masculinity is not to oppress a woman, it's not to make her feel second fiddle, it's to help her to become her best. Using your role, using your position as a man to make your younger ones or the woman become better. So we need to be careful about that cultural default, where some persons will say that, oh, because you are a man. I had a little conversation with one of my neighbors some time ago, a very young boy. They went for a wedding, and the elder brother was telling the wife of one of the brothers to go and greet this other guy, who's by age about 15 to 16 years older. And he said that's what cultures demand. For me as a person, that is the opposite of masculinity. For me, that's bullying, that's oppression of the womanhood, and it does not dignify you as a man.
True, sir. True, sir. You said a lot, sir, on this part. It's very important that one of the things we need to teach our children that masculinity has to do with respect and regard for people.
Yeah,
That a man is a man doesn't negate the fact that you should be able to respect people and have high regard for people. Because most times we tend to see that people define masculinity as you have to be the oppressor, you have to be somebody that subjects people, and you subject maybe your colleagues, you subject maybe your wife, you subject maybe your staffs, and it's like that makes you to be masculine. But it's not true, like you have said. It has to do with responsibility, it has to do with respect, it has to do with regard for people. And I think that's the true definition of masculinity: bringing yourself down, accommodating people, letting people know that you have regard for them. Because most of the time, you find out that people raise their sons to be, I don't use the word bullies, some men raise their sons to be bullies or to be Lord and Master and General Overseer. Yes, we understand the man is the head, but that doesn't mean that a man should be an oppressor. So basically, like you have said, true masculinity has to do with responsibility, has to do with respect, has to do with taking regarding people, has to do with self control. True masculinity has to do with self control. I think most in this generation, we don't teach our sons to have self control. So anything goes. They don't have self control over their emotions. They don't have self control over their appetite when it comes to food, to finances. And we find out that a lot of boys are doing a lot of things today. Why? Because they don't have self control. They don't have self control over their desires. And so they get into a lot of things today because they cannot manage their desires, they cannot manage their emotions. So true masculinity also has to do with self-control. That's to do with responsibility. That's to do with resilience. Young men of these days, they can't even push further. They're already tired. They're giving up, looking for the shortcuts. And I think it's a proof of what we are pouring into them. There's this command saying garbage in, garbage out. So what we give to our children, basically, they will give back to us. Our children are a reflection of what we're putting into them. Yes. Yeah, I know there are some cases where you put in good into your child, the child gets mixed up with the wrong crowd and does some other things. But majorly, our children are a reflection of what we are putting into them. So it is very critical that we do the right thing. So we're going to go over to values. Now, it's very critical as parents that we inculcate the right values in our children, especially when it comes to respect, accountability, loyalty, integrity, honesty,
oh, hello, I can hear you. Oh,
I'm back, sir. So sorry. I
okay.
have to do something. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the areas of values. How can we instill? Can you hear me, sir? Now, can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you clearly, very clear, very clearly.
Okay. Is it how can we instill good values in our boys? Because values is very critical in raising children. Okay. How can we instill good values in our sons? As a father, how can you instill good values in your son?
Okay. First and foremost, I need to say that if you've not been able to provide leadership for yourself, you cannot lead your sons. That's the beginning point. Very important. If you're not able to lead yourself, you will not be able to lead your sons. So what that means is that as a father, I'm talking from my personal experience. I have personal values: hard work, the fear of God, discipline, and all that. So these things, I live them out daily. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person per se, but I am driven by goals and values. And because there is something ahead of me, it becomes easy for me to impact these things on them. Beyond the examples I talked about, you need to have interactions with your children. It's very key. You need to have interactions. Let me give you an example. Sometimes I'm not in town from Monday to Friday. But when I come into town on Saturday, I sit and ask questions, and I observe patterns. Take note, I observe patterns. Patterns, does this pattern fit into the value that I practice, or this pattern is something different from what I practice. When you observe the patterns, then you need to engage them in conversation. Let me tell you, these people, they listen. Yes, I agree that sometimes the reason why they listen more outside, when they listen more outside, is because there are no conversation going on at home. There are no deep conversation. So beyond the fact that I try to model the values of hard work, I try to model the value of respect, I try to model the value of the fear of God, I engage in deep interactions. I ask questions, and I make them to be vulnerable. And not that's like what scripture said, naked and not ashamed. Tell me the way it is so that I can guide you. Yeah, sometimes they can try to hide some information here and there, but I should keep talking to them, trying to make them understand the reason why you need to do this. And you practicalize it. You see that over time, these children will start inculcating this value. So first, in summary, you must be able to lead yourself. That means you must have values, you must have limits, you must have things, a template to run your life, and you must live out those values. And very importantly, you must engage in deep conversations with them regularly.
Well said, sir. Um, Thank you. I can see Reverend Christian Ahmed. Thank you. My wonderful husband is in line. Thank you, sir. Before I comment on what you said, sir, and he just wrote something you said. He said, if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead your sons. You have to be driven by goals and values to make positive impact. Very key word you have said, sir. If you have not been able to provide leadership for yourself as a father, you cannot be a leader to your son. So it starts with you. People that don't have values, how can you inculcate values to your son? So it's not possible. If you do not have personal values, you cannot instill values in your sons. And I like what you said about having interactions with your children. Most times, Pastor Alex, most times fathers tend to say, I'm very busy. I'm very busy. I don't have time. I'm working. I want to provide food for the family. I want to provide money for them. And I ask some people, when you provide all you need to provide for the family and you lose the family, of what essence is all the hard work? So it's not like we're saying don't work for your family because you need to provide for your household. But there must be times when you sit down and have, like you said, conversations with your children and you spend time with them, like you said, to be able to see patterns and observe what is happening with my son. Is there anything wrong? Is he doing the wrong thing? What ideologies is he picking in school? What is happening in his life? Are there things that are troubling him? But if we keep making the excuses that we are busy and we keep being busy, we leave training and molding our sons to people out there. And we cannot guarantee what they are hearing out there. We can't
Yeah.
guarantee the influence, the authenticity of the information they are taking. We cannot leave our sons to be trained by TV, of our sons to be trained by social media, Facebook. It is an error. So even as fathers, I know we juggle a lot of balls. Definitely mothers do, but fathers also juggle a lot of balls as being a provider, a pastor, a priest, a prophet, a present dad is a lot. But in the midst of all this, like you said, finding time to interact with your sons is critical because every son's the first man they see is their father. And every father should be the true definition of masculinity and fatherhood to their sons. So it's very critical that we sit with our sons. Like you said, it's one of the ways to inculcate values. How can you inculcate values if you don't want to talk about them? Minus modeling and the rest, leaving it out. You don't talk about it. They don't have time to ask you questions. They cannot hear you talk to them. They don't have you to correct them. Then there's already a problem. So I think in this generation, fathers need to wake up and spend more time with their sons. Most times, Pastor Alex, most fathers spend more time with their daughters because maybe they feel that the girls are very fragile. They say there's a bond between the father and the daughter. I know, but let us create a bond between the father and the son because the sons also need their fathers.
Yes.
Because yes, most times we say the sons are they tilt to their mothers, the daughters tilt to their fathers. Yes, but must be, like you keep saying, intentionality. The fathers must be intentional in building a relationship with their sons. Mothers cannot do what fathers will do in the life of boys. I'm a mother, but I have an understanding that there's a role a father plays in the life of raising a boy that a mother cannot play.
Very
And that is why
correct.
we even say to women, for example, the father is not available or the father has passed or something, you look for a father figure to fill that
Yeah.
role. And it's very critical. So fathers, please let's wake up and spend time with our boys. It's very important so that they don't go out and be trained by their friends or people out there that you can't even vouch the values they stand for. So it's very
And
important. Yes, sir.
let me just say something.
Yes, sir. You can, sir.
You know, I agree that there is the human nature sometimes that we get too close to our daughters because we see them as fragile. You see, thank God for a conversation like this that reminds us that we need to create a balance. You said something very striking. There are some things that the male child will do that the daughter cannot do. And let it not get to a point where the male child we see that daddy doesn't really love me, doesn't give me attention. If they grow up with that mindset, they get married. That's why you see some young guys for 2 years they will not even visit their parents. They send money. They will not even visit their parents because the parents did not, get that attachment when they were growing up. So that love, that bond was not there. So parents, we need to be very careful. We need to create a balance. The male child needs love, he needs support as well. If he grows up with that mindset that daddy was not there, by the time he gets married, you'll be so surprised for 2 years. For 3 years, that man will not even visit you. Let me tell you something that I do today, and it's deliberate. Because I've seen that at old age, one of the things that plague old age is loneliness. There's something I do. Christmas period is a very busy period for me. But I take out a minimum of 3 days to go and stay with my parents, and I go with my children. It's not comfortable, but I am sowing a seed for my tomorrow. It has got to a point that when Christmas is coming up, the children will say, when are we going to see grandma and grandpa? And I'm always happy to hear them saying that but of course, age will always come one day. And I'm happy because I have seen the fruit of, the seed I am sowing. Now, when I get old, naturally, these children will just love to come and spend time with me. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that please let's create a balance. Let's not just stick to the female child because it's fragile and whatsoever. We must create a balance, one for the female child and also for the male child.
Very true. Um, um, I like what you said that the male child also needs love and support as the female child. And I think that's one thing we are getting wrong in this time. We tend to feel that the girl child needs more love and more support, and most times we tend to neglect our
Mm,
sons.
yeah,
They also need love and they need
yes.
support. They have emotions. Boys have emotions. When we're growing up, they tell you that boys are not
Mm,
emotional, boys are very logical, boys don't cry. Who said that? Is there where they wrote that the people that are logical are the boys and the girls are the emotional ones? They are not logical. Anybody can be logical. I've seen females that are very logical. I've seen boys that are very emotional, and it doesn't make them less of a boy. So we should not make our sons feel that you are a macho man. You don't need the love. Can you take care of yourself? Can you do this? Like, these boys need to be heard. Sometimes they need a shoulder to cry on, sincerely. Sometimes they
Yeah,
need people to
yeah,
talk to. They go through stress like the girls. They go through hard times. And sometimes because we feel that, why not brave up, you're a man, you're a man, you're a man. Uh-huh. The man still goes through stress. So we should be able to be his elder support
yeah,
for our boys so that when they grow up, they are fully balanced and they are fully molded. Because you will see some parents, you see a 3-year-old boy, the boy in now is crying for something, and the mother is saying, are you not a man? I'm like, wait, 3 years. The child is crying, and you're already telling the child, you don't have a right to cry. Are you not a man? How? Why would a
Yes.
child not have a right to cry?
Mm.
The child is in pains. And
Mm.
that is why I think we have boys that bottle up a lot of things and they keep it inside. And you find out that before you know, the accumulated anger and pain will one day come out. There must always be a room for the
Yeah.
eruption. And before you know, there's so much
Mm.
violence because they're looking for a way to express themselves. So much violence, so much hate, so much disregard for people. They treat people with disrespect. They do a lot of things because nobody gave them the
Mm.
opportunity to express themselves. But we say, "Are you not a man?" Like you said, masculinity is about responsibility. It's about taking charge. It's about
Yeah.
self-control. It's beyond the fact that okay, don't express yourself or keep it to yourself. Even the boy child needs love and support. Very critical. Very critical. Very important. So, sir,
Kite, let me
yes,
just
sir.
let me just bring something. Let me just bring something in. You know,
Yes, sir.
sometimes when some children, male child, does some things in school, and the parents get to know, they are shocked. And I keep telling them that don't be shocked. The reason why you are shocked is that this child does not have your ear to talk to. So there is somebody outside this child is talking to, and won't betide that family that that child is talking to somebody who has, negative value system. The tendency is for that child to believe that person. So when you see something, your child stole in school, your child belongs to secret corps, it's because you not had time to have a conversation. By the way, nobody should say that men are so strong that they don't have emotion. Men have emotion. Men have emotion. They need to be cared for. So I am saying that most parents are shocked today. And I'm saying, don't be shocked. The reason why you are shocked is that you've not played your role. If you have played your role, nobody will influence, your child. And let me tell you something. No matter how it is, every child is talking to somebody. Please, I like us to leave to take that home today. Every male child is talking to somebody, either the teacher in the school, or the classmate, or the boy in the compound, or he gets somewhere. If you don't dominate that child's life, I tell you that she is going to bring values that are different from your own values.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Every child is talking to somebody, and that is very key. Every child, every male child is talking to somebody. Every male child is actually talking to somebody. We must give our ears to our sons. Very important. You cannot vouch. Who was teaching? I listened to a coach, and she said something. I hope I'm going to give the right information. It gets to a point. Is it age 10? You don't become the most influential person in the life of your child. So you don't want to get to that point and you have not influenced your child enough positively for your child to be able to gain ground. That when the child gets the other influences, the child can be able to decipher that this is not the right thing, this is wrong, and this is wrong. We should be able to raise our sons to the point, and even by a particular age, even before 10 or there, right, you should have mentors. It's better you pick a mentor for your child that you trust and you put your child under the tutelage of somebody and say, okay, please, I'm the father, I know I'm there, but you're going to be mentoring, you're going to follow this person is going to mentor you and the rest. Most times we just leave our children to do whatever they like, and you're wondering, your sons, ask your sons who are their mentors. You'll be shocked what you hear. You'll be very shocked when you ask some of your sons, who is your mentor? They will tell you things like, you'll be shocked. Because we have not been deliberate in our parenting. That we bring our children, we influence them, and we bring them under the tutelage of people that we trust, people whose values we know, and we believe that because we know the purpose of this child, this person can join us and become a support system and take our children to the destination they have to get to. You can't raise your child alone. It gets to a point that the other influences from friends, from the internet, from people, other adults, and the rest. But you can be deliberate enough that you decide to put your children around the right set of people that can mentor them to the future they have to get to. Because, like you said, every child is listening to somebody. Somebody is talking to your child. You may not be aware, but somebody is talking to your child. So even as we're talking about children, boys being emotional on the rest, I'm going to ask the question: How do you balance teaching strength and vulnerability to your sons? How do we balance teaching strength and vulnerability to our sons so they can
It,
stand and
it's
they can
simple.
be vulnerable?
It's simple. I what I normally do, I practicalize it at home and in my relationship with them. That even though I'm a man, sometimes I make mistakes. And when I make mistakes, I apologize to them. Let me give you an example. Sometimes they will say, Daddy, we need to buy this, we need to buy that. And I'll tell them, okay, I'm going to get this for you on Wednesday. But sometimes I may not have the funds to do what they have asked me to do. What I do is when I come and I explain to them, I say, Bethel, I know I promise you that I'm going to do this for you on Wednesday. I'm going to do that for you. But as it stands now, I don't really have the funds. You know, and they build more trust and confidence in you. You understand? You don't need to kill yourself as a man. You know, things that you cannot do, you make them know. At a point, I've told them, so I say, the cost of recharging this DSTV is getting too much. We need to pause for a while. And they say, yes, okay, Daddy, if you we need to pause for a while, things like that. But if you want to show strength, that means you're going the extra mile, even to the point of borrowing. It's not good enough. You must get to the point where you are naked before them and not ashamed. Tell them the real truth. When they see this thing happen too, even in their own personal life, they will see they need to be vulnerable. Let me give you an instance. One day I asked my son, I said, what's your relationship with your teacher in school? And he started telling me a whole lot of things here and there. This one is this and that. And I said, okay, but I noticed that in this subject, you're not doing too well in this subject. I just laugh. Maybe I didn't read it very well. But, I saw his body language and I asked, I said, no, 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 what's the issue? You know what he said? He said, I don't really like that teacher. You don't like. So I just laughed. I said, okay, why is that you don't like the teacher? He said, because the teacher always flogged me in school. I said, really? I said, does he just flog you? And he said, the teacher says that I make so much noise. Now, you see, I was happy because this guy was vulnerable before me. He was able to tell me the truth. He was able to tell me what's happening in school. But if you are not vulnerable to them, if you are not open, if you not tell them where you've missed it and once in a while apologize, they will all see themselves as the strong men, as the big men. And before you know it, you bottle up a whole lot of things, and before you know it, they explode in one of the days.
Um, Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I believe that we are learning from this conversation. For those of us that are actually online right now watching, and for those of us that we watch after now, I believe we're learning a lot because this conversation is packed with a lot of information, a lot of truth that we need to be able to make us effective fathers, and even generally as parents. Um, if we have comments, you can drop. If we have questions, we'll try to take that while we're gradually rounding up on this conversation. Now, Coach, when your logo said something, I hope I say it in the right way. She said it. It said the narrative that parents are infallible is a wrong narrative. The narrative that says parents do not make mistakes is a very wrong narrative. Parents are not always correct. As parents, we are not always right. As parents, we make mistakes. And like you said, teaching vulnerability, we must learn to own up to our mistakes and apologize. You know, most parents find it difficult to apologize to their children because probably they feel that I'm the parent, I don't apologize. How do you expect a child to know how to apologize when they make mistakes or do the wrong thing? When you as a parent, you don't know how to apologize. It's funny. And the child does something and you're telling your son, can you not say you're sorry? Can you not say you're sorry? And the child be wondering, are we supposed to say we're sorry? Because you do certain things and you don't even own up that, oh, I made a mistake. I am sorry. Because we feel that we are the parents. Being the parent doesn't make you the God over the life of a child. You are the
Mm,
parents.
mm.
You are the one to show the path. You are a guide and a guard. So you have roles to play. So you must understand as fathers that you make mistakes. So don't feel that when you apologize to your sons, it makes you feel less. It will reduce your fatherhood and make you feel less of a father. You know, most fathers they say, "Don't you know I'm the father of this house? Don't you know I'm your father?" Somebody says something when you kept telling your children or your wife that, "Don't you know I'm the father?" Don't that means you don't understand you're a father. That means where your position is questionable. You can't be saying, "Don't you know I'm the father?" We must learn to own up to our mistakes.
Yeah.
It teaches vulnerability. Tell your children you're sorry when you make a mistake. Don't petty,
Yeah.
don't beat around the bush. Say, you see, don't say, I made a mistake. I am sorry. You are
That's
teaching
true.
that side. Be open and own up to your mistakes. We are humans. We are
Yeah.
humans. Your
That's
children
true.
should not see you as a demigod. Yes, the Bible says we are gods. I know. But don't make your children see that, hey, this is my parents, do not make mistake.
Mm.
And the day you not make mistake, you not look like, own up. I am sorry. I made a mistake. I am sorry. You are teaching the child. You find out that there's
Yeah.
some children that find difficult to say I'm sorry. No matter what you do to them, they're not saying that I'm sorry. If you check critically, you may find out in their homes that their parents don't even say I'm sorry because they are not used to it. So how will they do it? So, like you said, we should teach our children. They should yes be the man, the true sense of masculinity, but they must learn to be vulnerable, to be able
Yeah.
to admit their mistakes, to be able
Yeah.
to apologize, to be able to know that we are also humans. We make mistakes. We are also humans. We may not get everything right. So it's critical so that a boy doesn't make mistakes and start killing himself and say, hey, God, hey, what have I done? And people have done a lot of things because they made a little mistake and they feel that when they confide in their parents, they are dead. Because the parents did not teach them that there's room for mistakes. And when your children make mistakes, please don't kill them.
Yeah.
Don't finish them. And
Yeah.
that's why most children don't go home. Oh. When they make mistakes, they don't go to their parents. They don't go to their parents. A child may make a very serious mistake and cannot go home to tell his father that you see,
Yeah.
oh, my father, I made this mistake because of the picture we have painted that everybody
Mm.
is infallible, you cannot make mistakes. Who said that? And they go out to someone else that gives them the wrong advice and makes them go deeper into that mistakes. It's a terrible one. It's a terrible one. I know we're talking about sons, but you see some even young girls, they get into error and probably they take in, they can't go home. Or a boy find out that he starts taking drugs and he know he had made a mistake and he's almost becoming an addict. He can't go and tell his father that see what I did. Because the father will not understand. The first thing the father will say, how? You, a man, how? And the boy goes out. And before you know it,
Yeah.
he's a full-blown addict. And
Yeah.
that's how his life goes. We are responsible for a life, for the lives of our children. We are stewards and we
One,
must ensure.
can I just say something? You
Yes,
see,
you can, sir.
please, I want to plead with fathers. When you make a mistake, don't sweep it under the carpet. Apologize to your children. Let me tell you something. When you don't apologize, the children are learning something. When you make a mistake, you know, my last son did something and I flogged him so vigorously. And I discovered that I was a little bit emotional. After the whole thing, I called him in the evening and said, I think I overflogged you and this was not good enough. And I said, I apologize to you. I saw a sense of responsibility. You understand? For me, it doesn't mean anything. You understand? I feel that's the right
Yeah.
thing to do. Something happened yesterday and today. One of our younger ones, I did some favor for her and she didn't acknowledge it. Only at about 3 o'clock, she was asking me for something. And when she called me on phone, I lampooned her so much. I lampooned her so much. But something happened. After about 40 minutes, I called her to come. And I said, I'm going to do this for you. But I think this thing you did was not too okay. This is how you go about it. And she knelt down and apologized. What I'm trying to say in essence is this. Parents, don't ever think that you are infallible. When you make
Mm.
mistakes, please acknowledge it before your children. Apology is a sign of strength. That's the way I see it. It's a sign of strength. It's never a sign of weakness. When my children, when I ask them, go and get water for me from the fridge, and they bring it, I tell them, thank you, Bethel, thank you,
Very
Noel.
true.
I do
Very
it.
true.
When they go and do
Very
it, I
true.
thank you. And I discover that they have modeled it. They say thank you. They say thank you. So let's not see ourselves as infallible. We are
Mm.
humans, we are not God. When you make mistake, acknowledge it, apologize, and move on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Apology is a sign of strength. Saying you are sorry is a sign of strength. Admitting to your mistake is a sign of strength. So it's very key. Okay, I think our time is. We'll just quickly take this question. I have to. Let's say I will take it. Okay, what strategies can fathers take to connect to their sons? What strategies? How can fathers connect to their sons? What can they do deliberately to connect to their sons?
Okay, let me just share the way I do. For example, if I'm going to the dry cleaner is just about 500 meters from my house. I tell two of them to follow me. We go together and we talk casually. When I want to go to some events, I go with them. Then also too, when their schools are having program, I try to open my calendar so that I go with them. You know, sometimes when you create this sense of informality, it has a whole lot of things to do in the life of that child. So I connect with them using informal activity. I connect with them through social interaction. I connect with them once in a while, go to their room, we'll be on the same bed. I connect with them by watching the same football they are watching. Sometimes I don't like watching football, but I just like, this is Vinicius Junior, this and this, just asking questions like that. And through that, I connect and bond with them. So I am involved in their personal activity. I'm involved in their goals. I'm involved in their aspirations.
Mm. Getting involved. What you said, there's something that struck a chord where you said that sometimes you go get involved in their school activities and the rest. Most times fathers think that when it comes to getting involved in the school activities of their children, is the mother's duty. So you find out most times in school. Yeah, so when they're having graduation party, you see more of the women. You can count the fathers. When they're
Yeah.
having open day, it's the mothers that come. When they're having end of year party or whatever that is, you see more of the mothers. Let me listen to Nigeria, because we have people watching that are not Nigerians. But in Nigeria, you find out that you see more of the fathers, because
Mm.
the mothers, that's your responsibility. Or go and check what the child is doing. But the fathers have
Yeah.
to take responsibility too. You need to be there, and it's part of the way
Yeah.
you connect with your sons. Be there. Let the child perform. The child is performing on the stage, looking for daddy, can't find daddy. It's only mommy. It doesn't feel so well. But when daddy is there, sharing on the child, go, my son, the child will feel so good. That's why my father is here. There is something your presence does to your sons. So we need, like you said, you have to connect with your sons, find ways. It doesn't have to be expensive. You're going on a walk, you take your boy with you. You're in your house, you call your boy, you roll on the floor, you play with them, you have conversations, you're dropping them off in school, you're having conversations. So it doesn't have to be expensive. Quality time does not have to be expensive. So let's
Yeah.
try to be present fathers, not just present fathers that are pressing phone or doing gadgets.
Mm.
Present fathers that are
Mm.
present indeed.
Yeah.
So the final and last question, Pastor Alex, what challenges have you faced in being a father? What challenges do you think fathers face, and how can fathers overcome them?
Well, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. I'm a man of different parts. I run a career. I run a family. I'm involved in church. I'm involved in professional bodies and all that. And to be frank with you, it's not easy to create a balance. So for me, that's a challenge. Then secondly, to be honest, the responsibility and the burden of taking care of the home sometimes could be very overwhelming. If you're not careful, it can make you to sink. But I have a strategy. And one of the strategy is that I always tell myself that contentment, contentment, it's one of the things that have helped me. I'm always grateful and I feel contented wherever I am. And with that, it frees my mind of any burden. I try to live within my income. I try not to be competitive. I put my children in the school that I can afford so that I don't get myself worn out. So I try to do things within the limits of my abilities and whatsoever. So yes, in trying to do that, sometimes two challenges will come, but when you do that, it helps to free you up to a reasonable extent. And also, two, as somebody who believes in the Lordship of Jesus, I believe in prayers as well. I believe in reading the scriptures from time to time. That's one of the way I get my encouragement. That's one of the way I get inspiration in the journey as a father.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Balance. Somebody said balance is a myth. The balance is difficult to achieve balance. There's a part of
Yeah.
essentialism. What is essential?
Mm. Mm.
Okay, sorry for that. I had some network glitch. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you now.
So sorry, I had the network issue. So we're wrapping up. I was saying something about time management that has to do with essentialism, what is
Yeah.
more important. And our families are very important to us. So it's very critical. And like you said, do things within your means. Don't go overboard. Do things within your means. And also learn
Yes.
to lean on God. If God gives you children, God knows has the blueprint of how you're going to survive or you're going to walk your children through that path. So it's very critical. So, Pastor Alex, thank you so much for today's conversation. We've
Thank
had
you.
an amazing time. I won't say give your last words. Like I always tell my guests, it's not last words because you will definitely be back here someday. So it cannot be last word. It's not last word. But generally, what will you have to say to parents out there? The mothers. I have mothers watching online. So both for fathers and mothers when it comes to raising the male child, transforming them to
Okay.
become men.
Yes, okay. Maybe a last comment. Let me not say final word. A last comment is to say that the yeah, the 21st century is quite challenging. That's true. A lot of influence here and there. What I would advise parents is let's become more intentional. Let's not be carried away by the pursuit of career and business, because what you fail to address today will confront you tomorrow. And sometimes at old age, you may not
Mm.
have the strength to really fight those things. So if we do our homework very well, old age will be peaceful for us.
Wow. Thank you so much. I've had an amazing time in this conversation. And I believe that those that have been online during this conversation, they've had an amazing time. I've learned a lot of things today. Yes, a lot of things have gone through my mind, a lot of things, light has come. So I really want to appreciate you, sir, for giving your time, for giving us from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much, sir, for being a blessing to us today. I appreciate you. And I
Thank
say
you.
that um, your family is blessed to have you as a father. That's the summary of the matter. So thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Please,
so
my
much,
special
sir.
regard to the
Do
Reverend
have
Man
a
of God.
blessed evening. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Have a beautiful night rest, sir. Bye for now,
I
sir.
appreciate. I appreciate. Thank you so much.
So we've had an amazing conversation today. Thank God the network wanted to do something, but at least I'm back. So I really want to appreciate everyone for joining us in today's conversation. It has been a high-opening conversation. We have learned so much today, so much. I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot today. And I believe we can go back to these conversations. If you have fathers that you think need to hear what you have heard today, tell them to go to School of Parenting, SOP on Facebook, and they can catch up on these conversations. Every other conversation for this year you can find on our Facebook page, School of Parenting, SOP. If you missed any edition, please, you can go back and watch every edition that you have missed. It's very important because what we say here, they are what do we say, we're bringing light to various situations, and we believe they'll be beneficial to you and your family. So thank you everyone for joining me on this conversation today. Our next conversation and the final conversation for the year 2024 is going to be holding on the last Monday of December. You don't want to miss that conversation. It's going to be the last for the year. You're going to be packed, filled with a lot of things. So please keep following us on our Facebook page, and you're going to see the advert for the last conversation of the year. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. If you have questions, you can send me a DM. Thank you. Keep following us on our social media handle on Facebook, on Instagram. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I believe that in your home, you're going to see amazing things, even as you put what you have learned to work. Like I always say on this platform, to a child, love is felt time. And remember, you do not own your child. You're just a steward. So please spend time with your children. Quality time is not expensive. Thank you and God bless you. So I'll see you in the next conversation. Yes, bye. My name is Kitty Amit, the convener of School of Parenting, SOP. See you in December. Bye for now.